When Jenna discovered the text messages on her partner's phone, her world crumbled in an instant. The words weren't vague or ambiguous. They were laced with intimacy, jokes, and plans that spoke of a relationship she hadn't known existed. Her partner, Michael, wasn't just cheating. He was building an emotional world with someone else. Betrayal trauma isn't just heartbreak. It's a fundamental rupture in trust, safety, and reality. For Jenna, the realization was akin to being pulled out of her body. Her brain seemed to freeze, unable to process what had happened. Psychologists call this a fight-or-flight response, but betrayal trauma goes deeper than immediate survival instincts. It rewires the brain. In the days that followed, Jenna found herself caught in an unrelenting fog. She couldn't concentrate on work or remember simple tasks. Research shows that betrayal activates the amygdala, the brain's fear center, creating a cascade of stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, this repeated activation can lead to hypervigilance, a heightened state of alert where even small, unrelated stimuli trigger panic or fear. Jenna began questioning every interaction, wondering if deception lurked in other parts of her life. But the impacts didn't stop there. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and decision-making, often becomes compromised during betrayal trauma. For Jenna, this meant struggling with what had once been straightforward decisions. Should she confront Michael? Should she leave? Each question felt monumental, weighed down by emotional exhaustion and self-doubt. Sleep became elusive. Jenna would lay awake, replaying moments from her relationship, searching for clues she had missed. Sleep deprivation only worsened the trauma, further impairing her ability to heal. Her brain became trapped in a loop of rumination, a hallmark of betrayal trauma that makes recovery feel impossible. Betrayal trauma also disrupts the sense of self. Jenna had always seen herself as a strong, independent woman. Yet Michael's infidelity made her question her worth. She became consumed with thoughts of inadequacy, comparing herself to the other woman and wondering if she was somehow to blame. This self-directed anger is another tragic effect of betrayal. The victim internalizes the betrayal, eroding self-esteem. Despite the overwhelming pain, Jenna's story isn't one without hope. With the right support, therapy, a trusted friend, or even time, the brain's capacity for neuroplasticity allows it to heal. Slowly, Jenna began to rebuild. She learned to process the betrayal without letting it define her. She realized that Michael's actions were not a reflection of her value, but of his inability to honor trust. Betrayal trauma leaves scars, but it also teaches resilience. Over time, Jenna found strength in her healing journey. She discovered that while trust in others might take time to rebuild, trust in herself was the key to moving forward. As Jenna ventured further along her healing journey, she began exploring the deeper impacts of betrayal on her emotional and physical health. She learned through therapy that her persistent feelings of hypervigilance and distrust were her brain's way of trying to protect her from further harm. But these patterns, while adaptive in the short term, could keep her trapped in a cycle of fear if left unchecked. Her therapist introduced her to grounding techniques, ways to calm her nervous system and regain a sense of safety in the present moment. Jenna practiced deep breathing exercises, yoga, and mindfulness meditation. These practices didn't erase the pain, but they created space for her to observe her emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Slowly, she began to reclaim her sense of control over her body and mind. Jenna also confronted the grief of losing the relationship she thought she had. Betrayal trauma isn't just about losing trust. It's about mourning the loss of the future you envisioned, the partner you thought you knew, and the stability you believed in. Acknowledging this grief was painful but necessary. It allowed her to process her feelings instead of suppressing them, which helped her move forward without carrying the weight of unresolved emotions. The more Jenna worked through her trauma, the more she recognized the importance of boundaries. She had spent much of her relationship prioritizing Michael's needs, often at the expense of her own. This realization was a turning point. She began to identify what she needed to feel safe and respected in future relationships, starting with the courage to say no when something didn't align with her values. One of the hardest steps was forgiving herself. Jenna had spent months berating herself for not seeing the signs of Michael's betrayal sooner. In therapy, she learned that her trust was not a flaw but a strength. She hadn't been naive. She had been committed, loving, and open. Forgiving herself for believing in someone who ultimately let her down was a crucial step toward reclaiming her sense of self-worth. As time passed, Jenna noticed changes in how she approached relationships. Not just romantic ones but friendships and family connections too. She became more attuned to the dynamics of trust, respect, and reciprocity. While the trauma of betrayal had shaken her deeply, it also deepened her understanding of her needs and boundaries. Jenna's healing wasn't linear. There were days when the pain resurfaced unexpectedly, triggered by a song, a memory, or a random encounter. But each time she was better equipped to face it. She reminded herself that healing is a journey, not a destination. Each step forward, no matter how small, was a testament to her resilience. Eventually, Jenna reached a point where the betrayal no longer defined her. She could talk about it without the sharp sting of pain and reflect on the lessons it had taught her. While she wouldn't wish the experience on anyone, she found gratitude in the strength she discovered within herself. Through her journey, Jenna realized that betrayal trauma reshapes the brain, but it doesn't have to break it. With time, effort, and support, she transformed her pain into growth and her heartbreak into healing. She became not just a survivor of betrayal but a beacon of hope for others navigating the same storm. Jenna's transformation became a source of inspiration to those around her. Friends who had once seen her as shattered and withdrawn now admired her strength and resilience. She didn't pretend the betrayal hadn't left scars. It had, but she wore them as symbols of survival, not as reminders of defeat. As she re-entered the world of relationships, Jenna carried her hard-earned wisdom with her. She took her time getting to know people, listening to her intuition and prioritizing her emotional safety. She learned to balance vulnerability with discernment, understanding that trust isn't given blindly but built through consistent actions over time. Her journey also led her to explore forgiveness, not for Michael but for herself. Forgiveness became a way of unburdening her heart from the resentment that threatened to keep her tethered to the past. She didn't excuse his betrayal, nor did she feel obligated to reconcile, but she chose to release the hold his actions had on her well-being. It was an act of liberation, a declaration that her peace was no longer tied to his choices. As Jenna continued to heal, she realized the power of community. She joined a support group for people who had experienced betrayal trauma, where she found solace in shared experiences. It was in these spaces that she felt truly understood. No explanations or justifications were needed. She could speak her truth and hear others' stories, realizing that healing wasn't something she had to do alone. Eventually, Jenna began mentoring others in the group, sharing the tools and insights she had gained along her journey. She spoke about the importance of self-compassion, the strength in setting boundaries, and the courage it took to rebuild trust, not just with others but with oneself. Jenna also rediscovered her passions, which had taken a back seat during the turmoil of her trauma. She threw herself into painting, finding that the act of creating brought her a sense of peace and purpose. Her artwork, once hidden in sketchbooks, began to fill her home and even made its way to local galleries. Each piece told a story, not of betrayal but of renewal, strength, and hope. By the time Jenna met someone new, she felt different, grounded, self-assured, and whole. She approached the relationship not as someone looking to fill a void, but as a person who had rebuilt herself from the inside out. Her new partner respected her boundaries, valued her honesty, and demonstrated the kind of trustworthiness she had once thought impossible to find. Though the echoes of betrayal would occasionally resurface, they no longer consumed her. They served as gentle reminders of how far she had come and how much she had grown. Jenna's story became proof that while betrayal trauma can leave deep wounds, it can also lead to profound healing and transformation. Her journey was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the brain's incredible capacity to heal. Jenna learned to trust again, not because she forgot the pain of betrayal, but because she had built a stronger foundation within herself. And in doing so, she reclaimed her life, not as a victim of betrayal, But as a victor over it, as Jenna embraced her new life, she discovered a profound passion for helping others navigate the aftermath of betrayal trauma. Drawing from her own experience, she began hosting workshops and seminars centered around recovery and resilience. Her goal was simple yet transformative: to empower others to reclaim their sense of self and rewrite their stories, just as she had done. These workshops attracted people from all walks of life: individuals struggling to make sense of their pain, those yearning to find their strength again, and even couples working to rebuild trust. Jenna's authenticity shone through as she spoke, openly sharing the moments of despair and triumph that had defined her journey. Her vulnerability created a safe space for others to confront their emotions without fear of judgment. Over time, Jenna expanded her efforts by writing a book. It was part memoir, part guide, a deeply personal account of her healing process interwoven with actionable steps for others facing betrayal trauma. The book, titled Broken to Brave: Reclaiming Your Life After Betrayal, resonated with readers worldwide. Her raw honesty and practical advice earned her a devoted following, and the book became a beacon of hope for those who felt lost in the aftermath of betrayal. Jenna's story reached even further when she began collaborating with therapists and mental health professionals to develop resources tailored to betrayal trauma. Together, they created online courses, support group templates, and self-help tools designed to meet people where they were, whether at the beginning of their healing journey or well into recovery. Amidst her work, Jenna remained deeply committed to her own growth. She continued therapy, not because she felt broken, but because she valued the ongoing process of self-discovery and emotional health. She practiced gratitude daily, reflecting on the ways her pain had shaped her into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Her relationships flourished too, not just romantically but in all aspects of her life. Jenna rebuilt bonds with friends and family, nurturing connections that had been strained during her darkest days. Her capacity for empathy deepened, allowing her to form more meaningful, authentic relationships. In her romantic life, Jenna maintained the balance she had worked so hard to achieve. She and her new partner, Ethan, approached their relationship with openness and respect. They regularly checked in with one another, ensuring that their emotional needs were met and that trust remained the cornerstone of their bond. Years later, Jenna stood on a stage at a national mental health conference, delivering the keynote speech. She spoke about the neuroscience of betrayal trauma, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of finding purpose in pain. As she looked out at the audience, she saw faces filled with hope, people ready to heal, to grow, and to reclaim their lives. Jenna's journey had come full circle. What began as a devastating betrayal had transformed into a mission of healing and empowerment. Her story was no longer just about surviving trauma. It was about thriving despite it. Through her work, Jenna proved that while betrayal might shatter the world as you know it, it also offers the chance to rebuild a life even more beautiful and fulfilling than before. As Jenna stepped off the stage that evening, she was met with an outpouring of gratitude. Attendees shared their stories, some through tears, others with tentative smiles of hope. Many thanked her for giving them the courage to take their first steps toward healing. It was in those moments, hearing how her journey had inspired others, that Jenna felt the true magnitude of her transformation. One young woman, Claire, approached her timidly, clutching a copy of Broken to Brave. Claire's voice trembled as she explained how Jenna's words had pulled her from the depths of despair after discovering her own partner's betrayal. "You saved me," she whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. Jenna gently took Claire's hand and said, "No, Claire. You saved yourself. You have all the strength you need. It's already within you." Those interactions solidified Jenna's resolve to expand her mission. She launched a non-profit organization called Brave Foundations, dedicated to supporting individuals affected by betrayal trauma. The non-profit offered free counseling services, peer support groups, and educational resources. It also advocated for greater awareness of betrayal trauma within the mental health community, pushing for more specialized training for therapists to address this unique form of psychological pain. As Brave Foundations grew, Jenna found herself collaborating with researchers to explore the long-term effects of betrayal trauma on the brain and body. Together, they published studies highlighting the need for comprehensive care, bridging the gap between emotional healing and physical well-being. These efforts not only advanced the scientific understanding of trauma, but also validated the experiences of countless individuals who had felt misunderstood or dismissed. Jenna's work took her across the globe, where she connected with diverse communities and cultures. Each place she visited reminded her of the universal nature of betrayal and the universal potential for healing. In every workshop or seminar, she emphasized the importance of self-compassion and the power of shared stories. One of the most fulfilling milestones came when Jenna established a retreat center, nestled in a serene, wooded landscape. The center became a sanctuary for those seeking solace and guidance. People from around the world traveled there to participate in workshops, nature therapy, and creative expression sessions. Jenna often led art therapy classes, encouraging participants to channel their pain into beauty, just as she had done with her own paintings. In her personal life, Jenna found herself reflecting on how far she had come. Though she had rebuilt her life, she occasionally experienced moments of vulnerability. These moments no longer frightened her. Instead, they served as reminders of her humanity and her ability to overcome. Ethan, ever supportive and understanding, stood by her side, encouraging her to honor her feelings and celebrate her progress. Years later, on the anniversary of Brave Foundations, Jenna sat in her garden, surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues. As she looked around, she felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for the life she had rebuilt, but for the lives she had touched along the way. The seeds of healing she had planted had grown into a forest of resilience, connection, and hope. Jenna's story wasn't just about betrayal or even healing. It was about transformation. She had taken her pain and turned it into purpose, proving that even in the face of profound heartbreak, there is an opportunity to rise, to thrive, and to inspire others to do the same. As the evening of the anniversary celebration unfolded, Jenna found herself surrounded by laughter and heartfelt conversations. The retreat center, now a vibrant symbol of her journey, was decorated with photos and mementos from the countless lives it had touched. A warm fire crackled in the center of the garden, and people shared stories of how Jenna's work had helped them find their way through betrayal and beyond. One story stood out. A man named Victor spoke about how Brave Foundations had saved his marriage. After infidelity threatened to destroy the life he and his wife had built, they attended a retreat Jenna had hosted. Through guided discussions and therapeutic activities, they learned to communicate honestly and work through their pain. Now, standing before the crowd, Victor shared how their relationship had grown stronger and more authentic than ever before. Tears welled in Jenna's eyes as Victor's wife joined him to speak. "You gave us the tools, but more than that, you gave us hope," she said. "Hope that we could rebuild not just together but as individuals. We'll always be grateful to you for that." Jenna smiled, humbled by their words. Stories like Victor's reaffirmed why she had turned her trauma into a mission. It wasn't just about her healing, it was about creating a ripple effect of recovery, one person, one family, and one community at a time. As the night grew darker, Ethan took Jenna's hand and led her to the front of the crowd. He spoke with pride about her journey, her courage, and the incredible impact she had made. "Jenna has shown us all that even in our darkest moments, we can find light," he said. "She didn't just heal, she transformed. And in doing so, she's helped so many of us transform as well." The crowd erupted in applause, but Jenna raised her hand, asking for silence. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady yet emotional. "But tonight isn't about me. It's about us. All of us who have faced betrayal and found the strength to rise. It's about the shared courage to heal, to rebuild, and to thrive. My story is just one thread in this tapestry of resilience, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it." Later, as the celebration wound down, Jenna stood quietly by the fire, reflecting. She thought back to the woman she had been when Michael's betrayal first shattered her world. That version of herself felt like a distant memory, yet Jenna carried her in her heart. She whispered a silent thank you to her younger self for surviving, for seeking help, and for choosing growth. In the months that followed, Jenna continued to expand her work. She partnered with international organizations to create resources for underserved communities. She launched a podcast, inviting experts and survivors to share insights and stories of hope. Her retreat center grew to include virtual programs, making healing accessible to people who couldn't travel. Jenna's legacy became more than just her story. It was a movement. Through her work, she helped redefine betrayal trauma, not as an endpoint, but as a catalyst for transformation. Years later, as Jenna sat down to write a follow-up to Broken to Brave, she titled it The Strength Within, Thriving After Betrayal. The book chronicled not just her continued journey but also the stories of those she had helped along the way. It was a testament to the power of resilience, community, and the unyielding human spirit. In every page, every workshop, and every interaction, Jenna's message was clear. While betrayal may leave scars, it can also lead to profound growth and a life filled with purpose, connection, and joy. Her journey proved that even the deepest wounds could be transformed into sources of strength and light.